What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new around here, welcome for the first time. This video series that you're catching right now is about getting faster. It's about showing new players the mechanics of Motorfest, how to drive, what to do, shortcuts, slipstream, NOS management, you name it. But it's about covering everything. So in this first video, I'm actually going to go over the Crew Motorfest basics, the things that you need to know about the game, and they're going to help you right from the start. All right, let's go. All right, so first, I'm not going to have any like hands-on driving tips and tutorial type stuff in this video. I want to talk about the game in general because there's a lot of things that are different about Motorfest that you really don't experience in other games. Now, Motorfest is a mixture of really arcade racing and sort of realism. It's sort of based in realism, but then the arcade knobs are turned all the way up. So with that, there's actually four main principles when it comes to driving in Motorfest. There's car control, there's NOS management, there's slipstream, and there's gutter turns. Those are like the four pillars. Once you start to understand how to do each one of those things and how to practice and how to get better at those things, the game starts to become much easier. Now, in addition to that, there's some secondary principles that sort of come after you understand those basic four. Then you start to work on a lot of those skills that are around those four. And that's going to be like avoiding crashes or making passes at the correct time, selecting the correct cars that fit the routes, track knowledge and shortcuts. And then, of course, you know, perfect starts when you start the race, trying to avoid the chaos that is the grand races. And there's probably a bunch more that I'm forgetting about, but we'll get to all of that stuff as this video series gets made. All right, let's talk about the first pillar, and that is car control. Now, obviously, car control gets better over time. The more time you spend in Motorfest, the better you're going to be at controlling your car. But I do have a couple of tips to sort of get you started on that journey of getting better at that. The first is to adjust your steering sensitivity and dynamic max lock. If you go into your settings, go to controls, scroll down to steering settings, and make sure you adjust the steering sensitivity and dynamic max lock. I suggest starting at about 70 for steering sensitivity and 60 for dynamic max lock. And then as time goes on, as you feel more comfortable with the car, start to crank that up. Your ultimate goal is to get to a point where you're at 100 and 100. That's where like you have a lot of control over the car and you can actually utilize what the game offers you. And then once you're comfortable with 100, you make the full jump to direct mode, which that's going to be covered in a later video. That is definitely not for newbies. It's very difficult to control. But just simply adjusting the steering sensitivity away from the default and the dynamic max lock away from default, you're basically going to be giving yourself a much sharper car, and it doesn't feel overwhelming. Even for a player who's never played Motorfest, I strongly recommend going to 70-60. It changes the way the game feels. The cars feel more instantly like receptive to your inputs. And without that, if you just play on default, there's a huge steering delay in Motorfest. My guess as to why they made the delay on the steering is so the car feels a little bit more like realistic in those scenarios. Like, it's a very arcade game, but they wanted to have some sort of like realism, like the basis of it to be realism. So it does take time when you're like turning your own steering wheel in real life. It takes time to get it all the way, you know, all the way locked steering one side or the other. So I understand why there's that delay, but in an arcade racing game, it just kind of doesn't make sense. So they give you the option to play with it. If you want to keep it default or go up, I strongly recommend going up. If you want to get faster, you're going to be increasing that steering sensitivity and dynamic max lock. The next tip I have for you is to not switch cars a lot. Now, if you're new to the game, you're going to be doing playlist races. You're probably not going to be doing a ton of PvP, but if you do jump into PvP, I recommend selecting a car in each class and not changing that. Just continue to drive those cars. Even if you have bad luck with it, you're not finishing well, that's okay. It's mostly just a skill issue and you will overcome it. But by switching cars a lot, each car has its own handling model, and you're going to be doing yourself a little bit of a disservice because you're not going to be able to get good at any one car. Your brain doesn't comprehend that you're going to lose traction in the gutters with one car and not with the other. And it's hard. It takes a long time to sort of get better at those cars. So in PvP, I recommend not changing cars too much. Try to select one car per category that you like, that you want to drive. It doesn't have to be meta, it just needs to be consistent. It's all about consistency in that realm. Next, it's really important to find a race in the playlist system that you like and that you can practice and that you can keep track of your times. And if you have the ability to record your runs, record them and watch them back. This is really important, and it really helps growth, and it can accelerate you getting better at car control. It's something I highly recommend. Pick out a playlist race, just a random race that you do by yourself, and do that over and over again with the same cars. But what's important here is to keep track of your times. Just keep track of the car and the time, and just do it over and over again. Just practice it, learn it. Go to YouTube, find a world record or something like that on that specific course. You can usually type in Crew Motorfest, the name of the course, and then some times will pop up. You'll find some good runs. You might not find the world record, you might find something else, but you'll find a good run, someone who's actually put together all of the shortcuts, the best places for gutters, that type of thing. Go do that and practice that exact course. Just practice it over and over again. Number 4, I highly recommend using a controller with this game. If you're using a keyboard, if you're on PC, it's really difficult to get sort of this like smooth steering experience. This game really likes smooth steering. It likes roll steering as well. Roll steering is when you press the analog stick all the way up when you're going straight, and then you just roll it along the outer edges of it in order to steer left and right. That's also a technique you can use, but smooth steering is much better. Try not to be tapping left and right, left and right. A lot of people steer like that because it's just sort of our nature, but try to get in the habit of smooth steering into corners. It'll definitely help you. If you the sooner you start on that, the better you are. And lastly, for car control, I strongly recommend practicing every single day, even if it's just a couple of times. If you have like a couple of minutes to race, maybe 2 or 3 times on your practice course, I strongly recommend doing it every single day. I know that's not realistic for a lot of people, but if you can, set aside maybe 30 minutes or something like that and keep practicing every day, because even if you take one day off, this can set you back. And I'm not joking. Like, for me personally, if I take a day off on the weekend, I don't race, when I get back into the PvP situations, I have to experience sort of like a de-rusting period. Now, it's not like extreme. I'm not back to like having no thumbs and driving, obviously, but it does set back your growth. If you can practice every single day, the more time you can put into it, the better. But if you only have about 30 minutes a day and your goal is to get faster, then do it every single day. All right, the next pillar is NOS management. Now, I'm gonna make a full detailed video on NOS management, so don't worry, but I wanted to touch a little bit on the basics of NOS management so that you guys understand, particularly for you guys that are brand new to the game. Number 1, your NOS tank and its power is dynamic based on the percentage that it is full. So what that means is the more full your NOS tank is, the more powerful that NOS is. And it comes down to every single 1% of NOS. 100% NOS is more powerful than 99 or 98 or 97% NOS. It's just more powerful. The fuller it is, the more powerful it is. So what you want to be doing is using the NOS at the very top of that bottle. You don't want to have a NOS tank that's empty unless it's certain situations, which I'll cover in a moment. But basically, you want to use the blue NOS, not the red NOS. Red NOS is when it drops below half. Blue is above half. So in general, just try to keep your NOS above half and try not to go below that. All right, number 2, you need to stop wasting your NOS in Slipstream scenarios. And we're going to cover Slipstream in just a moment, but basically when you have a car in front of you, you are getting a natural boost via Slipstream. Don't waste your NOS. You can use it to stay with that person if that person is NOSing also. But in general, what you want to do, you want to sit behind someone to use that Slipstream in order to refill your bottle. Now, if your bottle's full, obviously you can be tapping it, you can be using it. But if you're in a situation where you just don't have a lot of NOS, you definitely want to sit behind someone and use that Slipstream. All right, number 3, let your NOS build up at the beginning of the races. And when you begin a race, whether it's PvP or a playlist race, you begin with 0 NOS. Just don't touch it until it gets close to full. You really want to get into the blue. That comes back to my first suggestion when it comes to NOS management. You want to get into that blue NOS, so just let it build up at the beginning of races. And lastly, for the basics, you definitely want to empty your NOS when it comes to car transitions in the grand races. When you have a car transition, there's 2 of them that happen. Going into that transition, you should be emptying your bottle, because when you get your new car, you actually get a full bottle of NOS. All right, the next pillar is Slipstream. Now, as of posting this video, Slipstream is an OP mechanic. Like, it is crazy, crazy powerful, but it is sort of hard to detect if you're new to the game. So here's a couple of tips. Know that I'm also going to go into a more in-depth video in the future on Slipstream, but for this one, just some general things to know about Slipstream in Motorfest. Number 1, the Slipstream distance is different per class. So like the detection distance, where it starts to actually give you the benefit, is a little bit different per class. In general, it's around 1 second. If you're in a grand race, you can see it on the little leaderboard. It tells you how far away you are from the person in front of you. It's around that 1 second mark, but it varies per class. So no matter what class you're in, when you're behind somebody, you want to stay in their trail. You want to stay close to where they are. Take the lines that they're taking. Obviously, don't drive off the course, but in order to take the benefit of Slipstream, you need to be following their exact path. Number two, I mentioned this in the NOS thing, but you basically can use Slipstream to save your NOS. So this is important because at the end of races or in certain corners, if you're looking to make a pass, you can save up your NOS by sitting behind someone, getting the benefit of Slipstream and staying with them, and then use your full tank of NOS to push around them. It's a very useful technique, and it's very common in Motorfest to see that happen. If the person in front of you is not careful with their NOS management and they're trying to push the pace, they're using a lot of NOS to do that, then you're going to have an advantage because you don't have to use that much NOS. Slipstream is something that you definitely have to get used to using. And lastly, Slipstream goes both ways. This is important to understand because a lot of people try to pass no matter what. Like, they get a little bit of Slipstream, they've got some pace, and then they try to pass the person in front of you. What you don't realize is that the closer you get to that person, the more benefit you're giving them. This is called drag bump. This is basically what the game does to balance the effects of Slipstream. You're in their Slipstream, which means you're getting the benefit of faster acceleration, and they are in front of you getting drag bump, which gives them a benefit. And you guys are both helping each other go faster. This is important because sometimes in PvP scenarios, the leader gets out in front, and you can use Slipstream and drag bump with another player in order to catch back up to them, because the pace that you can keep solo versus the pace that you can keep with someone else is vastly different. Now, like I said, that could change in the future, but for now, that's the case. All right, lastly, let's talk about gutter turns. Now, if you don't know what gutter turns are, I have a full guide already on gutter turns for beginners. This is a very important mechanic for this game. Basically, when you drop 2 wheels into the dirt and you leave 2 wheels on the pavement on a sharp corner, or basically any corner, your car has the ability to take that corner a little bit faster. Now, there becomes a point where if the car can make the turn easily without being in the gutter, you just do that. Like, if the turn is not sharp enough, if it's more of like a high speed turn that's the angle is not quite as sharp, or it's not a hairpin turn, you really don't need to use the gutters. So knowing which situation to use it in will definitely come with time. But in general, if you're on a hairpin turn, gutters are going to be the fastest way to take it. Now, I don't know how to explain why, but basically, I feel like it's the outside wheels of the car are able to move faster because they're on pavement, and the inside wheels are moving a little bit slower because they're technically in the dirt, which then allows you to sort of whip the car around the corner. Now, the key to this is keeping the car centered over the gutter, and that is more challenging than you think. So it's going to take some time to learn this technique. This is a common thing that a lot of people already know about, and it's going to take some time to master. But I highly recommend watching my full guide on this because I go into some depth and I talk about the things that have helped me get better at guttering, and I think that will help you improve. But just some general tips. I want you to know the dirt does slow you down. So if you take a gutter and you're going too slow, you probably could have went faster just going on the road. Secondly, you should be coasting into it, meaning not on the throttle at all, and then accelerating out of it once the car settles in. You're going into the dirt, so the car does get a little unsettled when you enter the gutter, but eventually it settles in right around like the mid-turn area, and you can accelerate out. I recommend not accelerating until the car is settled into the gutter. So your entry speed is going to be really, really key. And if you're a new player, you're not going to know exactly how fast you can go in the gutters until you're practicing a lot. So that's what you need to do. I strongly recommend the race Legendary X Rivalry. That race is in the Donut Media playlist, and that race will test your gutter ability. There's a bunch of them. Basically, all of the turns going up the hill are gutter turns. All right, I feel like I've been talking way too much in this video, so I want to kind of summarize this for everyone in those 4 categories. So there's 4 pillars basically in Motorfest, and you need to improve in each one of those areas to really get faster at the game. So with car control, it's really just about practicing. Adjust your steering sensitivities, find a race that you like, and race it a lot. When it comes to NOS management, you need to make sure you're using blue NOS only. That's like the general tip. There's a lot more to it. It's more in depth than that, but for now, just make sure that you're using blue NOS instead of red NOS. For Slipstream, you should be using other players to your advantage. Use that Slipstream and drag bump to help yourself have a faster pace instead of fighting for every single position. There's no reason to be fighting for 24th or 19th position. Just use them and focus on getting better. And lastly, for gutter turns, it's 2 wheels in the dirt, 2 wheels on the pavement. Try to keep the car centered over the line. Coast into the gutter, accelerate out of the gutter. Again, those are some general tips on these topics, and I'm going to go into a lot more detail, but I kind of wanted to introduce this series that I'm going to start I just wanted to get some of the basics out there for you guys. This series is generally aimed at people who want to improve in Motorfest, and this is the right place. My content is no nonsense. I'm accessible to everyone. You can send me a DM on Instagram or Discord. I read every single message that comes my way. So anyways, hopefully this helps. I'm hoping to help you guys get faster. And that's it. Until the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you on the next one. Trigger out.